we very much want the consumer to have an experience with Zabs in a restaurant environment where it's emotional, memorable, you're eating it with food that you've chosen, you're going to enjoy, versus us trying to sell it to you directly either through ads or in the grocery store trying to stand out in a sea of options.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. What does it take to build a Buzzy food brand in 2025? A brand gushed about online, used by legit chefs around the country, and found on the shelves of Erewhon. It's a pretty tough question, but Zab's hot sauce co-founder Miles Soboroff is pretty qualified to answer it. In this great conversation, Miles shares how he discovered the datil pepper by near accident and how he thinks about growing his amazing company. Now, I am the biggest fan of Zabs as well as Miles, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Miles Soboroff, welcome to This is Taste. It's so great to see you in the studio.
Thank you so much for having me. Very cool to be here. I'm a big fan and avid listener.
Thanks, man. Well, I'm a huge fan of Zabs, what you're doing here with your hot sauce. I bought it on a whim. I think I met you randomly at Danny Boy's at my buddy Daniel Holzen's pizza shop. I was like, oh, I know who you are. I went to Erewhon that day, bought a couple bottles. And, I buy stuff all the time. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. I just like to support people who are cool. The case here is that I love it. And I've since bought a couple more bottles. I love the flavor profiles of St. Augustine. It is somewhere between hot sauce and barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the most respectful way.
That's right.
It just is delicious. The Scovilles are there, but not overpowering. And you can put it on a lot of stuff.
Thank you so much, man. It's it never gets old to hear from people we really admire who know their stuff about food that like our hot sauce. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We want people to enjoy it, and it's very cool that you do.
Well, Miles, tell me a little bit about how Zabs came to be and how you landed on this really unique hot sauce, or hot sauce adjacent, I would even call it. Mm-hmm. It's not a Crystal or Red Hot. Mm-hmm. It's not Cholula.
Yeah.
It's definitely has more barbecue sauce tendencies.
Yeah, for sure. I used to be a sports agent. I managed professional golfers and worked in the sports marketing industry for a while. A lot of the golf industry happens to be based in Florida. Golfers live there. PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, both based there. So a prior job back in 2015, spent a lot of time in North Florida. A colleague, mentor of mine took me out to dinner at a fish restaurant in Jacksonville Beach and said, hey, you got to try a datil pepper hot sauce. Datil pepper has been grown in St. Augustine, Florida, that likes to call itself the nation's oldest city for hundreds of years, and nobody knows about it outside of St. Augustine. That's what he told me. And I was a little hesitant because I don't have a super high tolerance for heat.
Yeah.
So I was a little intimidated, but the story was very compelling, and so I wanted to try it. So I tried a local datil pepper sauce at this fish restaurant, and I fell in love with it. The story was cool about the pepper. I became curious about that, but the flavor profile was very interesting. It was kind of sweet and tangy up front with what we've come to call the slow burn, this naturally delayed heat.
Yeah.
And so it was manageable for me. It didn't burn my lips and my tongue and sort of numb my ability to taste the food. It really did enhance it.
Yeah.
And I just became fascinated with it. So I kept that in the back of my mind for a long time. Started to, notice more hot sauces and study hot sauces, and kind of felt like, why isn't the datil pepper, an ingredient that's been around for as long as the United States has been around, more popular? Why is Tabasco seemingly the most ubiquitous classic American hot sauce? This chili pepper has been around longer than the Tabasco pepper here in the United States. And I just became fascinated with it, and many years later, when I kind of gave up on being a sports agent, got my best friend who used to cook professionally to help me play around with making a hot sauce, and started selling it at farmers markets in Los Angeles, and then kind of taking it gradually from there.
What was the drive to really pivot your career, corporate job, working for agencies and managing golfers, to become a food founder? I mean, it's a huge choice. There clearly was something there that you saw that really propelled you to kind of enter a field that many on the show have said is so difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is failure, I guess. I wasn't doing that well as a sports agent.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I loved the people. I loved the storytelling around sports. I loved the connection that it gives to people. It's inspiration. You watch sports because you get a feeling from it. You get inspired. You feel something about the human beings. But ultimately, as a sports agent, you don't have control over the performance of the athlete. And that was very difficult for me. I wanted to help. I wanted to do more to impact the outcome. And there's only so much you can do. And so I wanted to try something different where I had control over the air quotes product.
Yeah.
And food is very tangible. It's a low common denominator. Everybody eats. And
Great.
I had so many great memories and experiences around food. My grandparents owned a Jewish deli in Minneapolis before I was born, and so it was kind of way back in my blood. And it was just something to give a try. I know it's hard, but everything's hard, and it just felt like something worth pursuing and see how it went.
I love that sentiment and having those connection to the Jewish deli.
Yeah.
Tell me about this deli. What's
It's called,
it known for?
It's called, what's it known for? I don't really know. In my family, it's just kind of the history of my mom's side of the family. It's called the Boulevard Dell in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, part of Minneapolis. And my grandpa Mickey and my grandma Anita ran the place, and my mom grew up there, and that's where they spent their time. And it's just what I learned was the deli, in their case, was the center of their community.
Yeah.
It's where they met friends. It's where they all hung out. It's where they exchanged notes. And that really inspired me. I think of restaurants today and food today as exactly that. It's where you learn about other people's cultures. It's where you spend time with your friends. It's very formative. And so the deli, even though I never got to actually go there, was very much a part of my identity, I think.
Yeah.
And I grew up going to delis around Los Angeles with my dad, at a very young age. And so it remains an important part of my story. A big part of the deli thing for me is experience, how it makes you feel. You were talking to Eddie Wong about it. Like he said, vibes, like as part of the restaurant experience. I agree with that. It's tapping into nostalgia and memories and the ambiance and the people. And Cantor's very much has that. The history kind of comes through in the flavor of the food.
Yeah.
Same thing with Nate and Al. Same thing with Langer's.
Yeah.
These are places I grew up going, and it's the people are very much a part of it that makes it's storytelling. And I believe that it's not only about how delicious the food is, but how it makes you feel.
You clearly are very intuitive about restaurant culture.
Yeah.
You're here in New York, the fancy food shows in town, but you're definitely out at restaurants. And I think Zab's has had a really nice connection with restaurants. I think you clearly wanted to be a table sauce at restaurants, both fast casual and in, I guess, a variety of styles of dining. Well, take me through some of your LA restaurant faves, and really, is anyone carrying Zab's in LA? I think you're probably there.
Yeah, definitely. Man, the Los Angeles restaurant scene is incredible. A lot like New York, you get the best of all worlds, and we're so lucky to have that.
Yeah.
People from all over the world come there and set up these restaurants, and it's pretty amazing. So, some favorite restaurants.
I know, put you on the spot.
Well, I'll start with some recent ones. Breadhead, incredible sandwiches. They make their own, like, really thin, crispy focaccia-esque situation.
Yeah.
Amazing sandwiches. Their BLT is one of my favorite sandwiches in the world. They use our St. Augustine style hot sauce, the one you like.
Wonderful.
As their house hot sauce. I love all the bagel shops. The bagel scene in LA is incredible. Bell's Bagels, Maury's Bagels.
Yeah.
Hank's, of course, everybody knows Courage.
Yeah.
Pops. There's a new one called Daniel's that just came out that's awesome.
No way.
And they don't even do sandwiches. They just do different schmears, just different cream cheeses. But the bagel itself is amazing. Man, there's so much. I think
It's such a hard question.
I think of growing up and going to Cha Cha Chicken in Santa Monica, like getting jerk chicken enchiladas. I love that place so much. Man, there's too much and too many. Like, I have to think about a different neighborhood or a different type of cuisine to even focus on a specific place.
You grew up in the Palisades and you lived on the West Side after college. let's go there then. Let's stay on the West Side.
Yeah.
As a kid growing up,
Yeah.
what are some of the restaurants you're going to for a variety of reasons to celebrate? To catch dinner after school.
Well, we would stick with like my family were creatures of habit. We went to a place called Mort's Deli in the Palisades for many, many years. No longer there, but that was a staple. There was like a Mexican-American place called K and Dave's that we probably went to 3 times a week. That was like average at best.
Yeah.
But again, the nostalgia makes it taste more delicious. But I grew up all over town. My dad was involved in civic life. He was a parks commissioner for a number of years. So he oversaw the hundreds of municipal parks and golf courses. And so a lot of my great memories of food were like Saturday morning going to play Rancho Park with my dad and having an egg salad sandwich on the golf course, turkey sandwich. Like those still taste delicious to me in my memory. But we were all over town. We were very fortunate because of my dad's lifestyle to spend time everywhere. Like one of my best friends grew up in Watts, and there's a soul food spot called Jordan's.
Yeah.
That was incredible. I don't think it's still there.
Yeah.
But that was phenomenal. Pantry downtown. My dad and I used to go there. My brother lives on the east side in Frogtown, and there's so much good food over there. Moo's Barbecue on the east side in L.A. is incredible. And Andrew and Michelle, the owners there, were our neighbors in our first commercial kitchen when we started doing Zabs. There's too much, man. Los Angeles is a compilation of like a million little cities and so many incredible different types of food and restaurateurs.
It's such personal choices here that you've given, and I love that. I think some folks come in here and want to flex the newest and the greatest, and I love that. But I love that you were so personal, and this is your LA, you're a native, and I love that. Let's go back to restaurants and Zabs and how you guys interact, because again, you want it to be a table sauce. You want to grow this brand. It's not just a CPG on the Erewhon shelves, but you clearly have food service in mind. How do you balance that, and what's the goal with getting Zabs into the restaurant scene?
That's everything to us. We realize that hot sauce is a very crowded category. There's no shortage of awesome hot sauces. The legacy ones that are great. I love Crystal, you mentioned that earlier.
It's my one growing up.
It's one of my favorites. Other than Zabs, it's probably my favorite hot sauce. It's crowded, and we figure if we want to differentiate, we got to find a lane. And we always were most inspired by those like kind of classic American Louisiana style hot sauces. So the bottle, we wanted it to look and feel like that. We want the sauce to drip out slowly. We wanted it to be something that can sit on a restaurant table, but offer, we say like a heritage look and story look and feel, but with a more modern, nuanced flavor profile. And so we try and go to places where you'd often find Tabasco. And how does it work? I just play the enthusiast card. I go into places that I really am interested in and enjoy eating, like elevated classic American food. Elevated casual is the way I look at it. So places that are doing breakfast, bagels, sandwiches, seafood, burgers, pizza, and doing it really well. I'll go in and give them samples and ask for feedback and hope they enjoy it and they think it might help to enhance the experience. But we very much want the consumer to have an experience with Zabs in a restaurant environment where it's emotional, memorable. You're eating it with food that you've chosen, you're going to enjoy, versus us trying to sell it to you directly either through ads or in the grocery store trying to stand out in a sea of options. We want you to feel like you discovered it.
It's a really unique lane. You clearly care about CPG on shelves, and you have a full grocery strategy, I'm sure. But thinking about chef culture and getting and hand selling it, you're here in New York. You told me when we were chatting that you're out just at restaurants.
Yeah.
What's it been looking like in New York? And take us through, like, how do you approach a chef or a restaurant and try to get Zabs on the table?
First of all, New York's incredible also. Yeah. New York, like Los Angeles, is the whole world in one city. And so there's so much to do, and I'm so excited when I'm here, and it's a little bit overwhelming because there's not enough time to go to all the places I want to go to. My approach is just to be humble and be sincere. I don't have a culinary background. My business partner, my best friend, used to cook professionally. He's responsible for making.
Who is that? Let's give him a shout.
His name is PJ McNall. PJ and I went to school together since the 7th grade, middle school, high school, college. PJ cooked professionally for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Then he stopped, went to the military, came back, and I bugged him, pulled him away from a great career in construction management to make hot sauce. But I've learned so much from him, and I just try and keep it sincere. We're two things. First of all, I don't have a culinary background.
Yeah.
Number two is I'm not from St. Augustine, Florida, where the chili peppers, the datil peppers are from. And so I'm just open about that. We're enthusiasts, not experts.
Yep.
And I'll go into a restaurant that I'm curious about and leave samples with whoever will take them. If I can get a moment with the chef, great. I'll always try their food, so I'm coming from a sincere place. I want to make sure it actually goes well with their food.
Yeah.
I don't want to insinuate that their food needs hot sauce. Oftentimes
That's
it doesn't.
such an interesting point because you're talking about maybe changing the direction of a dish.
Yeah.
And so you have to be delicate there.
Very much so. And PJ taught me that. PJ taught me, not that I would have pushed it. I'm not a pushy, salesy person by any means. I come in, like I said, from a place of curiosity and enthusiasm. PJ also taught me when to show up and when not to show up and bother a chef, while they're prepping or during service. Obviously, it's not a great time to be there. So you got to find the right windows of opportunity or just leave stuff behind and ask for feedback and follow up later or hope they follow up with you. You cast a wide net and hope that they really enjoy the product. The product's got to speak for itself. So I always say about Zabs, our intention is not to be the star of the dish. It's to be a cameo. Yeah. We want to enhance the flavor. We want it to, with the slow burn of the datil pepper, that gradual heat, that nuanced heat that I think is unlike any other chili pepper. I think it really does enhance flavor. It has this, for me at least, it slows down the moment. It slows down the bite. It makes me pay more attention to what I'm eating.
I love it, like with fries, with cheese quesadilla. Yeah. I think of it, I think cheese is an incredible pairing with Zabs.
Yeah.
Cheese just, it enhances that sweetness and that acidity and that bite.
Yeah.
I've put it on veg.
Totally.
When I personally as a home cook have messed up and made it a little bland and
perfect.
I got my guy here. I got my Zabs.
Perfect. It's not meant to be the star. It's meant to make that moment, that dish 1% better.
We talk about health a lot on the show. Protein maxing is all the rage. We're on the NA beer train, of course. And probiotic sodas, some call those millennial Metamucil. But I want to talk about skin health for a second. Everybody should be thinking about skin health. It's important, and I look to OneSkin, the world's first skin longevity company, for a little help. Now, I've used OneSkin's OS1 hydrating sunscreen for walking around New York City in the blazing sun. I wish I had OneSkin on a recent 7 Pizzeria pizza crawl. Now, it wasn't just the roof of my mouth that got burned that day. And for the record, FNF and Upside are my NYC slice picks. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co. That's 15% off using code TASTEPOD. Recently in the show, we took a deep dive into the amazing world of Dijon mustard with help from our friends at Mai. Mai brings over 270 years of French craftsmanship to every jar of premium Dijon mustard. Since 1747, Mai has been perfecting the art of flavor, transforming everything from simple sandwiches to gourmet meals. Look for the "Oh my, it's a great talk about Dijon mustard" episode in the This Is Taste podcast feed. Where have you gone in New York? What's been your rotation?
Superiority Burger is probably my favorite.
I was gonna say, my guy, I think Brooks, if he's into having a table sauce, he might be into it.
He's got the Zabs pump on the expo station there.
Really?
And has done some Zabs dishes here and there.
That's so cool.
It's amazing. Brooks discovered, admittedly, I did not know about Superiority Burger. This was probably 3 years ago.
Fair.
And a member of his team, when he was out of commission, sort of between locations, reached out by email saying that Brooks had tried it. I think he got it at Erewhon in Los Angeles. And he said he ate it on tempeh on the flight home and loved it and wanted to serve it in Superiority Burger. And I started asking some friends who live in New York, like, what's Superiority Burger? And they're like, oh man, it's legit.
Yeah.
And I came here with my wife when he just reopened, April, I think, of 23.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that place.
Yeah.
It's an honor. I mean, that to me, that's a perfect example of like, that's what makes this so cool and worth doing. You mentioned earlier that CPG is hard. It's very hard. It's very crowded. But to me, the connection, having chefs, people who are very creative artists, gravitating towards our stuff is so gratifying and so cool.
So you're talking about food service pumps, which is a huge part of this business, and it's not talked about a lot in like consumer media. But you know, when you can sell your product in large formats for chefs, and give them like nice pricing advantages, it's huge. Yeah. Where are these pumps at? Like, give us the rundown of the pumps.
Yeah, Gott's Roadside. In the San Francisco Bay Area.
Definitely.
Uses those front of house next to the ketchup, which is amazing. I mean, Gott's is a perfect example. It's kind of like the very elevated roadside classic.
I went to the one in Napa. It was nice.
Beautiful. That's the first one. That's actually the first one that I've ever been to. And I walked up to it and was like, I got to get Zabs in here. This place is the dream. And reached out to them and was able to make it happen. That's been awesome. Bub and Grandma's in Los Angeles, one of my favorite restaurants in LA. Andy uses Zab's original hot sauce. He's got the pump there. Yeah, we're on tabletops at some of my favorite restaurants. Clark Street Diner in Los Angeles, Palace Diner in Biddeford, Maine.
Cool.
How cool to me that a place like that in kind of the furthest corner of the country from Los Angeles, where I live, uses our stuff. Here in New York, we work with Black Seed Bagels.
Yeah.
We're in all their locations as their house hot sauce, which is super cool. Pitts, Chef Jeremy just opened up that place.
Jeremy Solomon, love that guy.
And we're thrilled to be a part of that situation.
Yep.
We got pumps at a place called Caracas Bakery in Miami, which is so cool. You know, a Venezuelan-owned bakery. Like, how cool for us that they decided they wanted Zabs. El Bagel in Miami. We're just very fortunate to have probably, a couple hundred restaurants around the country that decided to put Zabs on their tables or back of house as an ingredient. The Butcher's Daughter in Los Angeles. Rose Cafe in Venice was one of our first, rest in peace to Rose Cafe, but that was an honor for us, to have Chef Jason Neroni choose our stuff. Very, very cool. So
love it. I think what you've said is very, very salient, and it says something about you as an operator and just really the quality of the product. This is the tip of the spear of trend. All these restaurants, these are well-regarded restaurants run by extremely discerning chefs.
Yeah.
Who are not thinking about just what can I put on my table just to make an extra buck. They want point of view. They want deliciousness. Obviously, it's the tip of the spear. It's very cool.
Totally, and I think I try to find a common thread through them, and a lot of them came from a fine dining background, and have decided to apply that to casual food. And that's my favorite stuff. It's familiar stuff that you could have every week or every day that's just done super, super well. And the fact that they've chosen our hot sauce as a ingredient, again, as a cameo, is so validating and so cool and motivating for us. One of my other favorites is Howlin' Ray's in Los Angeles, the Nashville hot chicken place. Chef Johnny uses our hot honey there. And again, it's an honor. That guy could make his own hot honey in 2 seconds.
Definitely.
But the fact that he values, it's not about Zabs, it's about the daddle pepper. The daddle pepper is the star of the show. We've just tried, PJ did a great job, my partner, to let the daddle pepper shine. We don't want it to be, look at Zabs. It's about, we're trying to do a service to help preserve and celebrate the daddle pepper. And we tried to create sauces. Anything we do in the future is going to be about, like, what's the best expression of the daddle pepper in that particular occasion.
Well, let's go to the other end of the spectrum in terms of restaurants. And I think I read this first in Snack Shot.
Yeah.
Andrea Hernandez is a mutual friend of ours and is a big fan of Zabs. And it means a lot to me when she champions a brand, because I think she really is discerning, has great taste. And I read in there that you, Zabs, this company that has all these great fine dining chefs and all these like kind of cool hip restaurants, is also working on something with Taco Bell.
Yeah.
The real grail for CPG founders to have some kind of collaboration with this massive company that we all love. How the hell did that happen? Incredible.
I think the best way I can explain it is Taco Bell came to us. I got a cold email one day. It was my birthday, actually,
Happy
which
birthday.
was a great birthday present.
PepsiCo in the house.
Yeah, pretty sweet. It was a validation of our strategy, which is restaurant by restaurant, one at a time, picking the places that we think are just quality. And Taco Bell found us, I think, through some local restaurants in Southern California. We're lucky that they happen to be based in Irvine, Southern California. And their like corporate executive chef, I think is the guy's title, sent us an email because he said he had been monitoring us and seen us around. So it was just a collection of one-off great restaurants. We have a bagel shop in Costa Mesa called Boil and Bake that makes awesome bagels. And that's pretty close to their headquarters, so I can only guess that they just found that it's somewhere local and decided to reach out to us. So, credit to them. We're so lucky that they are willing to work with small companies like ours and are helping us at the end of the day, not just like help spread the word about Zabs, but spread the word about the Dattle Pepper. Taco Bell has 8,000 locations in the United States. And for us to get to share the Dattle Pepper with millions of people over the course of a month, how cool is that? So we're very grateful to them for giving us that chance.
So what does that month look like that you can talk about right now?
To be totally honest, I don't know.
Yeah.
Things are changing with them all the time. Initially, the idea was to do a Zabs Taco Bell ranch sauce.
Nice.
Which uses our St. Augustine style hot sauce. And so we're going to let them decide. And that's what we've always done is sometimes chefs will ask us, hey, what do I do with this? And I'll tell them a few things that I like to do with it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're the artists. I want them to tell us what they want to do with it and paint their painting. We just want to be a part of that. Taco Bell is Taco Bell. We're thrilled. We're honored. PJ and I got to go down to their headquarters and they made a bunch of dishes for us to try. And it was cool that they actually wanted our feedback. But at the end of the day, we trust them to do what they think is the best thing to do with it.
So how's the business doing?
We think we're doing great. We've been doing this for 5 years. We started in farmers markets in Los Angeles, and now for me to fly out to New York and see people enjoying our hot sauce I was at Reveille yesterday for breakfast in Soho, the same owners as Raul's. It's amazing to see people enjoying our hot sauce. So in that way, I think we're doing really well. But as a business, it's very hard. We need to be discovered in a place where we can stand out. So that's why we're really focused on restaurants. And restaurants are great because we're fortunate that they'll buy our product from us and we don't make a ton of money there. It's, one little bottle at a time, but they're helping us spread the word and build brand awareness.
Yeah.
And then we also need to be in places where our consumers stock up. We can't ask them to come to our website. If they prefer to shop at the grocery store, at Whole Foods or Sprouts or where the Fresh Market, wherever it may be, we need to eventually be there. Or if they prefer to shop on Amazon, we want to be there too because we want it to be convenient to them. We want to be a part of their life and meet them where they are. And so we're trying to do all these things at once, and we're trying to be as disciplined as we can be. And it's tough. The grocery business for a small food brand is very challenging. It's expensive to get on the shelf. You've got a little slice of real estate that is very coveted.
You're paying rent.
You're effectively paying rent. And you got to spend money to get people to know about your brand, and you got to move units or you're getting kicked out of there, and you might be buying your product back at the end of the day. So we've had some great successes and we've had some failures, admittedly, and we've learned our lesson, which is for us at this point in time, trying to really focus on the restaurant business for Zabs and get people to try it and know about it, and then layer in the grocery stores in those areas in close proximity to our restaurant presence, so that people have tried it or heard about it from their friends and then go into the grocery store already somewhat familiar with it. And so we've got to get the sequencing right. We got to be patient and we got to be really focused. So right now it's restaurants first and then really thoughtfully layering in grocery as it makes sense and then cross our fingers.
How many doors are you in grocery right now?
Probably about 800. We're in half the Whole Foods stores in the country. We're in Sprouts. We're in the Fresh Market. Some other regional stuff. You mentioned Erewhon, like Bristol Farms. New seasons in the Pacific Northwest. And then a bunch of little independents. We work with a lot of specialty stores, and those are awesome to me. The butcher shops, the cheese stores.
Yes.
Those places are so cool to me because a lot like restaurants, they're very experiential. You know the owner, and they're recommending stuff to you, and it's very personal. And that's huge. Our philosophy when it comes to marketing, if you can call it that, is I want you to hear about Zabs from anybody but Zabs.
Absolutely. And so this is like a lot of hand selling, going to specialty stores.
Yes.
And just reaching out, sending them product, getting them to sign up.
Yeah, man.
It's exciting. I mean, for me, I know there's so much hard work and risk in founding. I mean, for me, that would be the coolest part. It's just like reaching out to people and getting to know local businesses.
That's the beauty of it. As hard as it is, we know we can't necessarily predict or control the outcome. But I'm already winning because I get to have so much fun. I'm in New York City. I get to go to restaurants that I want to try and meet people and form friendships and connections. I got to meet you through doing this. This stuff is super cool to me, you know. So it's already such a positive, enjoyable thing in my life. And I love the way we're doing it. And I love that we go one place at a time and just try and stay within ourselves and hope good things come out of that instead of trying to be everything to everybody.
You're 5 years in. I mean, have you taken on investment? Are you still keeping it friends and family and keeping it light?
No, we have. We've taken on investment, and that comes with its own set of complications. And we're also very lucky to have people that want to back us and see us succeed. Yeah. But you know, it does put some pressure on. It puts you on the clock a little bit.
It sure
People
does.
want to see you grow faster, and that has helped us in some ways. And we've made some mistakes as a result of that. But the key is that we're learning from them as quickly as we can, iterating as fast as we can. But yeah, we needed some investment because we manufactured our own stuff from the beginning up until a month ago. So we had a commercial kit. We've had 3 different commercial kitchens in Los Angeles. And the state of California is pretty strict about canning from a food safety perspective, which obviously makes sense. And so we needed to get certain equipment, and then we needed team members to help make the hot sauce, and then it's expensive to get on the shelves, and you got to travel around to go and do what I'm doing and selling and visiting restaurants. And so we needed some investment, and we're very lucky to have it. And it ranges from not random people, but individuals who are just enthusiasts. Yeah, small checks. To restaurant owners and operators who love the product and saw how their customers engage with it, to some proper funds. But at the end of the day, we got to stick to. I think of the brand as a child. It's like it's got to grow at its own rate, and it's got to be who it's going to be for it to be successful and have the outcome that we want. We want Zabs to be New Tabasco. We want it to be around for 100 plus years.
I think you're on your way. I mean, it has obviously a heritage aesthetic that you've chosen, and it's just such a good sauce.
Thank you, but it has to happen over time.
Yeah, man.
It has to evolve the right way, and people have to keep choosing it and opting in. I don't want you to feel like we're forcing it upon you, or that we need things to happen on a certain time frame. We want people to tell their friends about it, enjoy it, buy it again, rediscover it, and re-fall in love with it all the time.
This question is from my wife, Tamar. She's a big fan of your brothers.
Oh, awesome.
He's a celebrity in his own right. He's on NBC, Jacob. And he's really, when he started doing his thing on television, it was a fresh voice. What's your relationship like with your bro? Is he Zab's spokesman? Is he sliding into the Today Show when he can?
It's really funny you say that, because people all the time ask me about that. Oh, you got to get Zabs on the Today Show, because Jacob is kind of like a guest host on the Today Show. He's filled in many times.
Yeah, he's good. He's good at TV.
Yeah, thank you. I'm extremely proud of him. It's super cool to see. People think, so for me, for my brother to be on television is cool, but it's cooler to me to see him doing what he loves.
Yeah.
That's the real important piece to me, is that he's on top of his game. He's so passionate about his work. He loves talking to people. He loves talking about real stuff. And to see him doing it at a high level is amazing. It's just as inspiring to me as watching a chef doing their thing, like Brooks' Superiority Burger. Yeah. And so people ask me, oh, you got to get on Today's Show. Of course, they're featuring different products all the time. We actually cannot have Zabs on there because of NBC standards.
Of course.
So it's actually backfired in a way that we can't have Zabs on there because of that. But Jacob, our relationship is awesome. Jacob has been so supportive of what I'm doing. I'm so inspired by what he's doing. He's got friends. I mentioned Black Seed Bagels earlier. Jacob's freshman year college roommate at NYU is Matt Kliegman, one of the owners of Black Seed Bagels. So I'm very fortunate that I have that relationship because of my brother. And so we do like very different things, but I think what's similar is storytelling. Jacob is very good at talking to people and getting them comfortable to share how they're feeling. And that's what we're trying to do with Zabs is storytelling. We want you to feel slowness. It's not just about hot sauce, as you said. It's about an ingredient that has heritage, that has story, that hopefully makes you enjoy that moment a little bit more.
I mean, he could at least like slide it into Al Roker's dressing room, green room, and just like get him a cup. Well, Al knows food. I mean, Al's a great palate, great evangelist for food.
Well, to be fair, Jacob has gifted to many of his colleagues for Christmas, holiday stuff over the years. So I should give him credit for that, and I'm very grateful for that. But I don't expect him to do it publicly. He's a journalist, and he's got to maintain his integrity, and I would never want him to compromise that because he's doing such good, important work while I'm making hot sauce. But
you're both doing important work. At least in this studio, I consider them both important.
I appreciate that, but he's done more than his fair share to help support our little Zabs mission.
Miles, on This Is Taste, we ask guests their brother during taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid-fire Fast and Furious taste check. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The worst vegetable?
I can't do raw onions. I love any kind of cooked onion. Raw onions, can't do it. My wife loves them. She's Persian. She'll eat like a quartered raw white onion like an apple, and I can't believe it.
Yep.
That one's tough for me.
My father was a salesman, and he would never eat the raw onions. It just was one of his things.
With one exception, on a great burger, like there's a place called Yellow Paper Burger in Los Angeles. Yeah,
totally.
To answer one of your questions, they have one of our pumps.
Yeah.
And if they do it really thin sliced and they ice it to take some of the edge off it, then it's palatable to me, but raw onion's tough.
The best fruit?
Strawberries. Being in Southern California, we're close to where they grow some of the best ones. Harry's berries.
You got Harry's. Yeah. What is your typical breakfast?
Eggs. Any kind of eggs. I like sunny side up eggs, some spinach. I'm pretty simple when it comes to breakfast, but love eggs.
Obviously, with a little dabble.
Dab of Zabs, of course, 100%. Got to have a dab of Zabs on it. Usually, I'm going with original for breakfast, actually. I don't know how to make hash browns very well, but anytime I can throw some Zabs original on hash browns, I love it.
I think a deli bacon, egg, and cheese in New York needs a little dab of Zabs.
I just came this morning from Edith's. Shout out to Alyssa in the West Village, her new location. Had a sausage, egg, and cheese with some Zabs on it, and it's delicious.
Love that call. Is there a restaurant you wish you could bring back from the dead?
Boulevard Deli in Minneapolis. My grandparents' Jewish deli, never got to go. And I mentioned earlier, Mort's Deli in Pacific Palisades. Grew up on it, loved it. Used to get the turkey melt and wish I could taste that again one day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's the best dessert?
Anything, a pie from Fat and Flour, Nicole Rucker in Culver City.
Shout out to Nicole. What a great episode we had with her.
So good. It's
become a fan favorite, actually. And I love her pies.
Everything. The key lime is incredible.
So
she serves it at Found Oyster. My wife and I had her apple rhubarb pie that was incredible recently. Banana cream pie. Speaking of banana cream pie, also the banana cream pie from Apple Pan.
Oh, cool.
Incredible.
Good choice. Now, let me ask you, can Zabs be incorporated into pastry, into dessert? Is that possible?
Yeah, funny you should ask that. Like, I think most people think of hot honey as a pizza thing, and that's a credit to Mike's Hot Honey. Started in Brooklyn at Pauly G's, and he's been doing it for a very long time, very credible in that lane. We made a hot honey, and I don't really try hard to compete with Mike's in the pizza lane. They've done too good of a job there. I think it goes really well in pastry. I think on ice cream, hot honey is underrated, and incorporated into so it's not really dessert, but last night I went to Yellow Rose.
Oh.
One of my favorites.
It is still one of my favorites. It's been open 5 years.
Incredible.
Queso, and of course, their desserts.
I didn't even get to dessert.
The chocolate, you didn't get the chocolate yellow cake?
I did not get to the dessert because they gave me the cornbred.
Oh, yeah.
And the cornbread had like a honey butter, and I wish it was a hot honey butter, but it was honey butter with some pecans.
Yum.
And
I
some
love that.
Sliced green onions, hot honey on cornbread or in any kind of butter. But yeah, in the pastry occasion, I think hot honey works.
I'm going to say like pizza with St. Augustine. That's working
It's
for
great.
me.
You know, the St. Augustine style you mentioned, it's kind of barbecue-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
It is tomato-based. We make sort of our version of a ketchup as the base of that. So it does blend pretty seamlessly into pizza or into pasta sauce. I know it's going to like make some purists head roll, but
Yeah, I mean, it's not traditional Italian flavor
no.
profile, but some, what the beauty of pasta is that we love eating it, and sometimes we don't want a marinara.
It just adds a little tiny element of this like lingering back end heat.
Yeah, try it. I mean, why not? Get some Zabs and do a dab. I mean, come on.
Zabs, please.
I love that. Last one, a big one for you. What is your favorite sandwich?
Oh God, that's impossible. The BLT from Breadhead in Los Angeles, incredible. They use our St. Augustine style hot sauce, Langer's number 19.
Yeah.
Probably the one that stands out to me most right now, a place I went with my wife last year, Denver, Colorado, Little Arthur's.
Oh, I don't know it.
Formerly Little Arthur's Hoagies. Now he does other stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
He made a sandwich called his Ode to Wawa. He's a Jersey guy.
Yes. We love Wawa here.
And it was maybe the best sandwich I ever had. Turkey provolone, heavy mayo, pickles, pepperoncini. Incredible. And he made a Philly cheesesteak. To be fair, I haven't spent a lot of time in Philly, so I don't have a baseline to compare it to, but that was incredible. Little Arthur's in Denver is amazing.
Dude, get those pumps to Philly. Get yourself to Philly, then get the pumps to Philly, I'll say.
Yeah. Wherever they'll have us, wherever people want the pumps, we would love to be. And like I said, we're honored every single time.
Miles, this has been so much fun. I hope you come back in a couple years, tell us all about Zabs.
Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity.
Tyler Sharp, welcome to This Is Taste. It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk a little bit more.
So before we get to your book, just tell me a little bit about Modern Huntsman. What does this publication strive to teach readers?
Sure. Well, I appreciate it. So just a little background. I spent my career in the hunting industry as a photographer and filmmaker and a writer. I traveled to over 40 countries filming all over the world, and I kind of saw the good, the bad, the ugly, in my opinion. I didn't grow up as a hunter. I was around it a few times. I grew up in Texas, so it's kind of part of everyday life there in some cases. But I went to USC Film School, graduated from film school, and when I was 22, moved to Africa to start filming hunts. And when some of my friends in Los Angeles found out that that's what I was going to do, they had these really emotional reactions. And some of them got very upset and were mad at me. And I hadn't been yet, so I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to defend it because I didn't even know how it worked. And so that sort of observation was an underlying theme of a lot of our work. And then after spending my career and documenting a lot of the stuff, obviously started to form my own opinions on what hunting is about or what it should be about, how it plays a role in conservation. And a lot of the hunting organizations I was working with, in my opinion, weren't doing a great job of communicating with non-hunters. And it was kind of this combative, defensive tone. And I just saw a major communication gap there between people who hunt and people who don't. And the experience that I was having in places like Pakistan and Russia and all over Africa and India, and Nepal, and these very inspiring cultural and in some cases mystical experiences. You don't have to speak the same language as someone to still know how to connect through hunting or use sign language and tracking buffalo in Africa or whatever it is. And when I came back from these things, there wasn't really anyone focusing on that side of the story, or at least in my opinion, in a way that allowed people, let's not an official stat, but let's call it the 80 to 85% of the global population that doesn't hunt. How do I tell that story in a way that they might find interesting or for sure aren't offended by? And so that's really kind of what the genesis of Modern Huntsman was. What we started as a biannual publication in 2018. But I used to work for a lot of magazines, and so I knew what I didn't want to do. And we basically have a creative studio that partners with a handful of brands and organizations, and we strategize and collaborate on stories and photo campaign ideas and things like that. Some of which we include in the book, some of which we hand deliver back to them. So we really intentionally designed the experience to be purely editorial. And I mean, we all grew up reading National Geographic, and at a certain point, unfortunately, the first 6 pages of the books ended up being like erectile dysfunction ads, you know, and it
Yeah.
was like, what does this have to do with anthropology or history? And so that really, it was, I guess, just kind of right time, right place. And when we launched, we sold, I think, 10,000 copies of the first issue in 2018 or something like that. And it just sort of launched us on this trajectory that kind of validated that there was a space for that and that people wanted to hear. We can call it fine art from the field, right? You can call it like diplomacy for hunting. There's all these different terms we can use, but really what it's about is just showcasing the best of hunting, fishing, ranching, land management, wild food sourcing. That's a big part of what we do, is work with a lot of chefs. So
It's a great summary, and you really. I think our listeners will really be drawn to what you're doing, hunters or not, because I think
sure,
you hit a lot of topics we love to cover on the show and in the pages of Taste as well. And take me back though to USC Film School.
sure.
What takes you to Africa? You're not a hunter, so like, how do you end up on hunts in Africa right out of film school?
Destiny is the only way I can describe it, because I had no experience. And long story short, my dad used to run a store in Dallas that did screen printing and embroidery and vehicle wraps. And I helped set up all the equipment and used to work at this store. And it was next to, it was like in a kind of a strip mall, and it was next to a place called You Edit Video. It was this random place where people could bring in their home videos or whatever and have a DVD made. And the owner of a safari company from Tanzania walked in there and said, "Hey, I've got all this footage. Can you guys, help me make videos? And also, I'm looking for a cameraman to start filming these hunts in Africa." And my dad was just standing there when this guy said that.
It's amazing.
And he, was like, "Well, my son's about to graduate from USC Film School. Maybe you should hire him." And the guy was like, "Okay." So that's how it started. And then obviously I had to follow through, it took a lot of effort to like actually get there. But when I did, I mean, I feel like I went through a boy and came back a man, because this was 2006. It was the middle of nowhere in Tanzania, like 3-hour bush plane. This was before iPhones, no contact with the outside world other than like, a $5 a minute satellite phone at the time. And just got thrown into the wild, right? And had lions come in my tent and, chased by elephants and black
Wow.
mambas and anything you can think of. And so, yeah, there really was no way to plan for that, right? And like I said earlier, I went in there with very wide eyes as an observer and trying to understand, how does this work? And I feel like I do a lot of writing, and I remember writing this in my journal. I said that it's like a good pair of boots that you got to break in really well before they're
Yeah.
comfortable. That I had to get my ass kicked and I had to get bit and scratched and burnt by everything there before you start to feel comfortable in Africa. But once you spend the time there, it feels more like home than any place I've ever been. And
Wow.
that's very common. It's not unique to me. And yeah, that's when I stopped wearing a watch. I could tell you by looking at the sun within 5 minutes what time of day it was. I learned how to track. We were eating all wild game. I learned Swahili. And so it was just a very unique entrance into what hunting is, to be in the middle of the bush and basically living a sustainable lifestyle in harmony with the animals and the villagers and the whole community, which is not common, right?
Yeah.
But obviously an incredibly life-changing experience. So
So I want to zoom out and ask
sure.
you a question. I grew up in West Michigan, so I grew up around a lot of deer hunting and bow hunting, particularly. And I have a picture of a hunter that I think is quite different from what the modern hunter is. I think, honestly, our listeners probably have many pictures of what hunters do, how what they look like, how they speak, and how they treat nature and the animals. Let's zoom out and let me ask you, what does the modern hunter look like?
That's a good question, and honestly, that's why we chose the name Modern Huntsman instead of Hunter, because a lot of times if you say the word hunter, people have this idea in their head of what that is, and whether that's where they grew up, or they saw it on TV, or they saw it on an anti-hunting campaign on social media, or whatever it is. There's a lot of that out there, right? A lot of those stereotypes, and so the word huntsman is a very old word, and it the derivation that we're sort of basing this on is is kind of someone who knew the ways of the woods, right? A huntsman was somebody that was a hunter, but they were also had amazing knowledge in woodcraft, right? They were naturalists, maybe they were poets, the whole warrior king thing. And so, yeah, we really wanted to sort of create a differentiation in the word to be able to point and kind of create a new definition in a sense, right? And so I don't know if I'm qualified to tell you what the modern hunter looks like, because that's obviously a very broad spectrum. But I can say what we are trying to curate, right? And the sort of definition and personality that we've focused on, right, is call it maybe the thinking hunter, right? The conscious hunter, somebody who and honestly, a lot of people who read our publication or come to our wild food dinners like last night, or come to Scotland or Africa or Colorado or Montana with us on our trips aren't hunters. And it's because, we honestly don't even often say that we're a hunting publication. We say we're a collective of artists and writers and naturalists focused on the responsible use of wild resources. Because really that's what it's about, right? There's only so many wild places and wild things, and populations globally are expanding, and that puts pressure on those things. And so it's more about the conversation around how do you responsibly navigate those things, but at the same time, not pointing fingers or slapping wrists or calling names or making people feel guilty, but more so bringing information to the table about your impact as an individual, right? And if you want to go hunting or if you want to go fishing or do these things, these are some things you should consider. And if you've never done it, hey, here's some interesting people that we think you should maybe reach out to or go on a trip with. And so, yeah, I think that in a sense, sometimes I call it the Hemingway effect, right? If you ask me if we were at a cocktail party in New York City and somebody's like, hey, Tyler, what do you do? If I led with, oh, I film hunting safaris in Africa, wouldn't go well, right? That wouldn't be received well. It might offend some people. I might be asked to leave, depending on who's there.
Particularly in Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn is actually probably where that would perform the poorest. Just making a
Right.
observation.
But if someone asks me that question and I say, I run a company that does storytelling and wild food dinners around Hemingway-esque safaris with fishing and mountain climbing and a little bit of hunting, same thing, but presented in a different way. And I've found that saying it in that way allows me to have an ongoing conversation with that person in Brooklyn or wherever it is, right? It doesn't get their defenses up. And then all of a sudden you can kind of focus on the common ground, right? What do we care about, right? We both love animals. Great. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, traveling to Iceland or whatever it is, right? Oh, we both like this chef. And before you know it, that's what the conversation becomes. And then quite often people end up being, interested to hear more, or, hey, yeah, you know what? Send me that link to that story, or, you know what? I've never been to Scotland. I'd like to go. And so I think that, to come back to your actual question, I kind of like to say we're like the hunting misfits, right? Where there's this incredible community of people worldwide who enjoy, literature and art and music and good wine and food and travel and adventure. Some of it involves hunting, some of it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really we're trying to focus on that. And I kind of rewrote our mission statement in our last issue, but I read a quote from Edith Wharton, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning author from the 1920s or 30s. But basically, she said there's two ways to be the light. You can either be the candle itself or the mirror that reflects it. And so that's honestly a major goal of mine, is to just be showcasing inspiring people, great stories, wonderful places, outfitters who are taking amazing care of whatever landscape they're in. And yeah, and that's kind of in a sense what we've built, right? And people have sort of gravitated towards.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the book. It's filled with contributors. It's a very cool format, and I just like to hear about a few of the contributors and how you brought them to the pages.
So yeah, obviously we're independent publishers ourselves, right? We've published. We're on our 15th. It's a 200-page book we do twice a year, and people have been asking us for years, when are you gonna do a cookbook? When are you gonna do a cookbook? And we're like, yeah, we should probably do that. And then just again by chance ended up meeting someone who is a publishing agent, and he was like, he started asking some questions and about how many issues we've sold, and we're like, I don't know, we sold like like 100,000 copies of our magazines and stuff. He was like, really? That's huge. We're like, oh, that's good. I had no idea, like in the publishing world. So long story short, he was like, put a deck together, you know, put some of these names and these characters that you've been working with all these years, and let's put it out there. So he basically started a bidding war with a bunch of publishers, and I remember having a conversation. We obviously we published with 10 Speed Press, obviously, which is a division of Penguin Random House, and I remember talking to Kelly and Emma, and this is ultimately why I chose to partner with them, because I was like, hey, we're not trying to just do a cookbook, right? We're trying to win a James Beard Award. And I was like, most cookbooks are boring, in my opinion. And so I was like, what are the rules I have to follow? And I can't remember exactly, but they were like, you got to have 50 recipes. And then there was something else about formatting or something. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to break the rest of them because we want to do something that doesn't sit on your shelf all year until the one time around Thanksgiving. You're like, oh, we have a cookbook. Let's pull that out. So we took a different approach with this, to be very editorial in nature, to be more about the philosophy and the story of why these people do what they do. And I mean, there's a lot of times, you always hear about restaurants failing or something or other, and you're like, why? That's such a hard business. Why would you do that? And then you meet some of these chefs like we have in this book, and because they're artists and they're passionate, and that's the way that they support and love people, is cook food. And so we picked. There's 9 chefs in the book. Some of them wouldn't even call themselves chefs, to be honest, from a wide range of places and backgrounds. Some are professional, some are not. But yeah, we wanted to kind of curate, curate an interesting mix of people. There's 3 James Beard Award winners in the book, and then we had 4 essayists. So Terry McDonnell, who is our advising editor, he's the founding editor of Outside Magazine and was editor in chief of just about every publication out there. Legendary. He wrote the foreword. And then Jamie Harrison, Jim Harrison's daughter, wrote the intro as well. She wrote an incredibly moving essay, which she read last night at our launch dinner. Rick Bass is another famous Montana writer, and Chris Dombrowski, who is our editorial director. So we wove those in throughout the sort of biopics of each chef. But our dinner last night was with Chef Eduardo Garcia, who's a Montana native. I guess you could call him a celebrity chef because he used to be very in the limelight. And then there was a documentary produced about him because he was electrocuted. Just a freak hunting accident, lost his arm. There was a dead bear and was laying on a live wire, and he didn't know that, and touched it with his knife just to see if it was wounded or whatever, and sent, I don't know how many volts, 10,000 volts through his body. And he should have died, and he didn't. Dragged himself 3 miles out of the backcountry, lost his arm, was care flighted to a burn unit, survived, got testicular cancer, beat the testicular cancer, relearned how to cook and bow hunt and fish, and is just this incredibly inspiring person. So last night, so my chapter in the cookbook that I photographed was about him. 3 years ago, we did a 400-person dinner in the middle of a ranch with bison, and they harvested this bison and made the whole menu from the different parts and flowers and local vegetables and things like that. And then, there's our good friend who's also our wild food editor. His name's Jesse Griffiths. He's based in Austin. He owns a restaurant called Dai Dewey. He won the James Beard in 22 for his hog book, which is
great chef and great advocate for cooking with whole animals. Jesse, absolutely legend in the game.
He is, and I'm sure you're aware, but he won a green Michelin star last year for his Dai Dewey restaurant in Austin.
Yep.
So it was funny because I asked him, I said, hey, Jesse, what do is there anything like unusual or weird that you want to talk about in this cookbook? I don't want to do the same old thing. And he's so funny. He just had this big smile on his face and he just goes, panfish. What I love about Jesse is obviously he's a legend, but you would never know it because he's just like the kindest, most humble person. And he's just a guy that likes to eat tasty food. So his approach to the world is very, the cooking world, in my opinion, is very childlike. There's this enthusiasm and wonder about it. And so it was super fun for him to get to do something that he really, really loved. And then there's another good friend of ours named Sarah Glover, who's originally from Tasmania. She does these incredible, they're like shows. Wears these incredible, prairie dresses and, cowboy hats. She's this beautiful woman and puts on this amazing show with I mean, the recipes that she did for us, there was like 10 animals, like whole deers hanging from like old wagon wheels over fires with cactuses on, old wagons and
Wow.
all kinds of stuff like that. And hers is very performative, right? It's very much about, getting people involved, coming out by the open fire, throwing things in the coals, kind of Francis Mallman esque, I would say. And then, we had another good friend of ours named Tommy Davidson is a very traditional British chef. He lives in the Highlands of Scotland and cooks at a lot of estates and lodges, but very traditional Scottish base, but then a lot of wild food and fresh ingredients. And so, yeah, I mean, a very, very wide range of people from different places, Italy, Maine, Scotland, I forget where else we had, Denmark and
Yeah.
in the US as well.
Amazing lineup of chefs, and I really appreciate the care you gave, and I want to go back to that moment where you're like, I went to the publisher and I was like, I don't want to do what everyone else does, and I
Yeah.
think like you're a true editorial guy, which I appreciate going into the process, and I know Kelly and team over there did a great job
Yep. They did.
giving you the space, and I love the book. It's a
Thank you.
great just document just to have on your coffee table and pick it up and read it, obviously. And I want to close and just ask you, give me a good story about just shooting on location, because you, as a photographer and a videographer, cinematographer, you have seen many types of hunts for that kind of informs the pages of Modern Huntsman. Give me your wildest story.
Wildest story. Um, sure. So I would say, and this isn't in the cookbook. It's in, I think I actually published this maybe in volume 1 of our
Mhm.
magazine. But
Starting strong.
yeah, yeah. So I was in Tanzania in a floodplain, right? So there's no trees, and you navigate by boat. There's this like double decker boat with a tower on top, and it's 12-foot tall elephant grass everywhere. And we're looking for Cape buffalo. You're driving around these rivers, and you can't even see them. You're just looking for the white oxpecker, the birds on their back. And when we'd see the oxpeckers, the guide would like pull this string that would ring a bell down by the driver, and he would run the boat into the bank. We'd all get out, take our shoes off. We're walking barefoot through swamps, hoping we find these buffalo. Oftentimes they would charge, and like, you have no idea what's going on. They're running on every side of you. But there's also a lot of lions in this area, and they're like unique because they're like aquatic lions, kind of. They swim a lot, and as a result, they have less of a mane because they're just climbing in out of banks and all this stuff. And we're in this camp, and the canvas safari tents that we sleep in, the zipper on the mesh door was broken,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Hey, we should fix this because this is sketchy." And they were
You're
like,
setting
"Oh,
up a horror movie right here, by the
pretty
way,
much,
Tyler.
pretty
You're
much."
setting it up.
And they were giving me shit like, "Oh, don't be a little baby. It's whatever." Like, okay, fine. Because there's a canvas door, but it was so hot there that you couldn't close that. You couldn't sleep. You would not suffocate, but you'd just be incredibly uncomfortable and sweaty at night. So, anyways, it was so hot. I was like, I'm going to shave my head. And he was like, well, let's do a mohawk first because that's funny. So we shave a mohawk into my hair, and then we go to sleep. And this is the last time I ever took malaria medication. And
Yeah.
if you've ever been to Africa, and depending on what you take and how your body reacts, you can have these
I passed
murderous
on that one.
nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm having this murderous nightmare, and wake up. I don't remember what the nightmare was, but it was bloody. I just woke up like heaving and sweating and panicking, and I kind of calmed down, like, okay, I realized it was a bad dream. And then about 10 seconds later, behind the tent, I hear, "Woof, woof, woof," which is a male lion basically like announcing his presence. And I was like, holy shit, do I have time to run out here, undo both canvas flaps, pull them down, jump back in, close the zipper? And by the time I even flinched to think about going and doing that, the lion called right next to my head, outside the window of the tent. So now he's essentially, 2 feet away from me, but outside the tent. And like, okay, well, there's no time now. So I just sat there, And side note, so the story that I wrote was called Baramwezi, which in Swahili means full moon. So it was a full moon,
Mm.
and this lion steps out in front of the tent, doors wide open, in the full moon, and this thing looks like a centaur. I mean, it was huge, and I'm sure, like, in the moonlight and everything, it was probably exaggerated, but it steps out and it has a mohawk mane, which is an important detail there. And I basically reached down to grab the bed frame because I was like, if this lion comes, I'm going to try to flip the bed on top of myself. The guide is asleep in the bed next to me, right? There's
Sleeping
like,
through the whole thing.
has
Wow.
no idea. He's snoring.
Yeah.
His gun's under his bed, and I can't whisper, like, I'm just. So as I reach down to grab the bed frame, the bed creaks like classic horror movie, right?
Mhm.
And this lion just turns around and just looks me straight in the eyes from, like, probably 6 yards away, maybe, very close. And when a lion shows up, everything else gets quiet. All the bugs, all the birds, everything shuts up. So I could hear the sand as this lion, like, dug his paws in and crouched, and his tail is doing like the
Mhm.
flicking cat thing. I'm like, all right, well, this is how I die. At least I'm, seeing this lion in full moon. It's beautiful. And it felt like a lifetime, but it was probably 15 seconds. He just turns around and rubs his face on the fence and
Mm.
jumps in the river and swims off. And I wake up Georgie. I'm like, Georgie, wake up! That lion was here. And he gets up and, of course, like, acts all tough now. He's in his underwear, and the lion, sort of goes off in the distance roaring and that sort of thing. And so next full moon, so exactly 1 month later, same tent, same lion comes back. This time the door is shut, right?
Yeah.
But he lays on the front porch and, like, his body sags the tent wall in, and he's breathing, and the tent wall is just moving back and forth. And I'm sitting there, like, talking to this lion. Literally, I'm like, what, are you my spirit animal now? Like, what's going on here? And he ended up leaving. But yeah, I take that maybe it was my spirit animal,
I love
or
that.
whatever it was, and maybe it was the mohawk, and he was like, hey, we're bros now because we got mohawks. But yeah, that was obviously, I wasn't out in the field photographing, but I was sleeping in a tent between photographing safaris, and that was definitely simultaneously one of the scariest, but also one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I actually have that lion I have a tattoo of that lion, because I ended up getting really, really good footage of him at one point.
I love
And so, yeah, I would say that one qualifies as a top one for sure.
I love that story, Tyler. It really shows the deep empathy you have for nature and animals, and really, it's refreshing to hear this story about what your point of view is at Modern Huntsman. And I hope our listeners perhaps have a different point of view about hunting
Sure.
after listening to this.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I appreciate it, honestly, and that's kind of what our mission is, right? And we have a lot of readers and subscribers that aren't hunters, and
Yep.
we've had many emails over the years, in some cases from vegans who are like, hey, look, I don't eat meat, but if I did, I could do it this way because you guys have respect and care for the way you go about it, but also the fact that anybody's welcome, right? And that we validate other people's perspectives and opinions, and often as a result find common ground, right?
Yep.
And that's the most important thing.
Love that. Tyler Sharp, thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
This Is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanal and me, Matt Rodbar. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.